Os damos la bienvenida a Storyland Legends, el tren de aventura del Wonderfest, donde cada parada revela historias locales que inspiran a toda la comunidad. Preparaos para viajar por estaciones cargadas de ideas brillantes, explorar culturas y proyectos únicos y ver cómo cada historia se convierte en una chispa que ilumina todo el Wonderfest. El viaje continúa y la aventura está a punto de comenzar. Storyland Legends nos muestra cómo se puede aprender jugando, gamificando las clases y haciendo que cada estudiante viva su propia aventura educativa. Pasajeros al tren. Hoy contaremos con la inestimable colaboración de usuarios expertos en la transformación de sus contenidos en aventuras llenas de creatividad, gamificación e innovación. Veamos quiénes son y cómo descubrieron Genially.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sierra, and I'm a Genially ambassador from Greater Richmond, Virginia, United States of America. I'm an instructional technology coach, helping K 12 educators design and implement quality instruction, often with technology. My favorite part of this work is the creativity and innovation it allows, and Genially is the perfect tool to bring that to life. Honestly, I can't remember exactly how I first discovered Genially, but I do remember being amazed by its potential. I created an educational infographic and shared it online, and not long after, Chrissia reached out and invited me to become a Genially ambassador. That was a little over 2 years ago, and it's been an incredible journey ever since, learning, growing, and seeing firsthand how Genially empowers creativity and innovation in education.
Hi there. My name is Belinda Howell, and I live in Houston, Texas, where I'm currently a digital learning specialist for Aldine ISD. I help teachers integrate technology into the classroom. Before joining the digital learning world, I used to teach 8th grade US history. My big focus is gamification, which is largely why I was attracted to Genially. I first learned about Genially at a conference where I heard them talking about escape rooms. And that's something I used to create a lot with the Google tools. I'm a big fan of gamification, so I would spend so much time making these elaborate games. The problem was, and I'm not bashing that at all, it just took hours and hours and hours, weeks, sometimes to be able to make just one game. And then you'd run it in the game or in the classroom, and there would always be something that you forgot to unlock, and you have to go back and make sure everyone can get in. And then I start looking at Genially and I see they have templates that are already made, everything already works. All you really got to do at a minimum is create the content. You can just add in the questions, the answers. And so I did that. So I'm sitting in a PLC, just, 45-minute one, and I knock one out from beginning to end, a digital escape room relating to the Civil War for some 7th graders. I tested it in class. The kids really liked it. They did well. I saw that they were actually learning the material. Their test scores went up on that subject. So I really fell in love with Genially.
Hi, my name is Laia Tenegirones Deeds. I'm a foreign language high school and virtual school teacher at Smoky Valley, Lindsborg, Kansas. And I also teach foreign language courses fully online at a community college. I found Genially a few years ago when I was looking for a website that would help or enable me to gamify the classroom, gamify learning in the classroom. And I'm not gifted with technology, so I was looking for a site, a page that would help me or do most of the hard work for me. And Genially had it.
Meine Leidenschaft ist die Lehre. Mein Name ist Jennifer Nino und ich unterrichte Spanisch und Deutsch seit einigen Jahren. Also, ich habe Geniali ungefähr vor 7 oder 8 Jahren entdeckt. Ich kann mich nicht mehr erinnern, aber ich glaube schon damals war meine Lieblingsfunktion die Möglichkeit, Objekte, zu bewegen. Was bedeutet dieser Wonderfest für mich persönlich? Bedeutet einfach, dass ich nicht die einzig Verrückte bin und dass es ganz, ganz viele Leute gibt, die, lernen gerne, mit Geniali arbeiten und, ja, einfach Lernszenarien, Spiele und eine neue Art, halt Inhalte zu lernen, zeigen oder präsentieren.
Ciao, sono Arianna Pisapia, una delle ambassador italiane di Genially. Sono una docente di inglese della scuola secondaria di primo grado e conosco Genially davvero da un bel po' di tempo, da quando una collega mi ha presentato lo strumento e da allora devo dire non riesco proprio più a farne a meno.
Ciao, sono Claudia Fisanotti, sono un'insegnante di inglese nella scuola secondaria di secondo grado e sono referente regionale per la didattica digitale integrata in Valle d'Aosta. Mi occupo di formazione docenti e di progettazione di percorsi che uniscono competenze digitali, educazione emotiva e creatività. Ho scoperto Genially cercando uno strumento che potesse dare vita alle mie idee di storytelling interattivo e soprattutto di gamification. Mi ha colpito subito la sua capacità di trasformare un contenuto in un'esperienza. Ogni elemento diventa parte di una narrazione viva che coinvolge, sorprende e soprattutto permette agli studenti di abitare la storia.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Jean Cherez, je suis learning designer et fondatrice de Meges Learning, une agence de digital learning spécialisée dans la gamification. Mon métier, c'est de concevoir des parcours de formation, principalement e-learning, qui sont à la fois ludiques, esthétiques, impactants et accessibles. Mes clients, ça peut aller des ONG aux grandes entreprises, en passant par des organismes de formation et des solopreneurs.
¡Qué interesante inicio de viaje! Llegamos a la primera parada. Ahora vamos a ver qué proyectos y dinámicas llenan el recorrido del Wonderfest. ¿Qué tipo de dinámica o recursos suele crear con Genially? Juegos, escape rooms, simulaciones, formaciones interactivas.
I've used Genially to design everything from interactive presentations to concise, informative infographics, but my favorite projects are digital escape rooms, or breakouts. They make learning fun and immersive. One of my favorites was a Westward Expansion breakout for 7th grade social studies. It blended storytelling, gamified review, and interaction in a way that truly engaged students at every level.
All right, so here's an example of a map that I kind of genified. So the students, they need to know the 13 colonies in order to understand the reasons for their creation, as well as a bunch of social and economic political stuff. So what I would do is I would actually chunk this into 3 parts. I would have them just focus on just learning, let's say, the southern colonies. So I'd say, okay, you guys got 7 minutes. I want you to learn these colonies. So they can hover over it, and you can see it says their name. And if they click on it,
North Carolina, North
turn this
Carolina,
down a little bit.
Virginia,
Virginia.
North Carolina,
I can get it to actually say that out loud. Now, Genially is providing the audio here. I just use the AI features, but you can also use your own voice, or you can upload a fancy voice from 11 Labs. But I would have the students just kind of practice.
Georgia,
You can see they have the list. So let's say I'd have them just practice the southern one, and then we'd go on to the next part. Oops. And I would usually have some type of question or two to kind of gauge whether they actually understood them. Did they actually learn them? So they actually have to go and answer it and then go forward. Here's another example of what I was talking about with how you can take anything and make it interactive with Genially. So similar to maps, they really struggle with tables and graphs. It's hard for them to understand, but you can see just how interactive it is just by looking here. When I move along here, you see how the population is changing throughout history. You could also go down here and say, let's say this line here showing the total immigrants is confusing them. I can click that, and it takes it off, and it readjusts everything. I could also add tooltips, videos, information anywhere here. So like if I come over here, it says click to see why the number of slaves brought in is so high right about here. So they can click You can see I can pull up information, I can pull up maps, videos that explains it. So anything you can do, you can make it interactive, between graphs to pictures, and I've really found that to be extremely helpful.
And I usually create games, escape rooms, presentations, and activity boards for my classes or even conferences.
Quindi diciamo che utilizzo Genially principalmente per attività di gamification o di game-based learning, perché l'applicativo è veramente estremamente coinvolgente. I miei studenti lo adorano, utilizzano Genially ogni volta che possono. Nel momento in cui io gli chiedo che cos'è che vogliamo realizzare, quale tool vogliamo utilizzare, ecco che il primo nome che viene fuori è sicuramente Genially. Ma andiamo a vedere subito l'attività preparata per gli studenti. Ecco, l'invito a trovare 5-10 differenze e quindi lavorare sul lessico e sull'osservazione. È un classico intramontabile, reso interattivo dallo slider. Come funziona? Bisogna preparare 2 immagini che siano molto simili tra di loro, con alcuni elementi che però chiaramente le distinguono. Quindi piccole modifiche, un oggetto spostato, un colore cambiato, insomma qualcosa di aggiunto, tolto, spostato. Gli studenti quindi guardano attentamente la prima immagine, poi man mano facciamo scorrere lo slider e devono identificare e descrivere appunto le differenze. In questo caso io li incoraggerò a utilizzare delle preposizioni di luogo, aggettivi, strutture come in the first picture there is, in the second picture there is e quant'altro. Ed ecco, finalmente andiamo a vedere la nostra attività. Eccolo, siamo allo zoo, quindi stiamo arricchendo il lessico legato agli animali, e qui vediamo 2 immagini che in realtà sono molto molto simili, ma con qualche piccola differenza che io inviterò naturalmente a raccontare. Dove troviamo il widget? Siamo all'interno del nostro, io vado ad aprire un attimo la creazione che è stata sviluppata per loro. Dove troviamo questo widget? Ecco, in quest'area meravigliosa di questi elementi interattivi come il carosello, il mosaico, il comparison, che è quello che abbiamo utilizzato, ma anche flashcard, grafici, il dado, la moneta, il randomizer, trova le coppie, e vedete che questa è un'area che poi man mano va elementi di timer, di stopwatch, di countdown, così come menu per arricchire la navigazione. Insomma, ancora una volta, grazie Genially, ed è per me un onore essere parte di questa meravigliosa community.
Meine Lieblingsprojekte, es ist auch eine komplizierte Frage, aber ich würde sagen, auch Spiele, auch alles, was mit Gamification zu tun hat, Lernszenarien, wo die Schüler und Schülerinnen einfach in ihrem eigenen Tempo lernen können.
Il tipo di attività o di risorse che realizzo con Genially sono normalmente ambienti narrativi e formativi in cui gli studenti e i docenti a cui insegno a usare Genially diventano i protagonisti del loro apprendimento. Le mie risorse spaziano da escape room, mystery games, fino a percorsi interattivi di letteratura, di educazione civica e di educazione emotiva. Mi piace fare up smashing con Genially e con altri strumenti per dare profondità e soprattutto significato alle esperienze multimodali.
Ma mission, rendre l'apprentissage plus engageant en utilisant des leviers de motivation qu'offre la gamification. J'utilise bien sûr Genially, mais aussi Canva, et j'accompagne également d'autres professionnels à se former à la conception de modules gamifiés en tant que consultante et formatrice sur ces outils. Alors j'ai découvert Genially en 2021 lors d'une formation professionnelle sur la conception de modules e-learning justement. Et je me rappelle, on avait le choix entre plusieurs outils et j'ai tout de suite été attirée par Genially, par son accessibilité et son aspect ludique. Un projet qui a été très important pour moi, c'est un module sur la création d'entreprise que j'avais réalisé pour une ONG, qui m'a permis d'intégrer énormément de ce que j'aime, à savoir du storytelling, un avatar, une progression ludique, de l'interactivité. Aujourd'hui, je me sers de ce module que j'ai créé comme fil rouge dans ma formation Fusion, qui apprend aux professionnels de la formation à fusionner Canva et Genially pour créer des modules qui soient plus ludiques, plus engageants, plus esthétique également. Cette formation a aidé des dizaines de formateurs et ingénieurs pédagogiques à transformer leur approche pédagogique. Alors j'ai une équipe de freelance qui adore Genially. Donc évidemment, ça booste leur motivation sur les projets, le fait de savoir qu'ils vont travailler sur cet outil. Et du côté des clients, l'enthousiasme est palpable. Quand ils voient le rendu final, ça dépasse souvent leurs attentes. L'interactivité crée une vraie dynamique collaborative dans chaque mission. Le Wonderfest, pour moi, c'est une célébration de la créativité, de la créativité dans le secteur de la pédagogie. J'ai eu la chance d'être parmi les toutes premières ambassadrices Genially en France. Aujourd'hui encore, je suis très engagée pour faire rayonner Genially via ma chaîne YouTube, mon profil LinkedIn ou mes formations comme la formation Fusion. Donc pour moi, le Wonderfest, c'est l'occasion parfaite de partager, de découvrir, de faire partie d'une communauté d'acteurs innovants de la formation.
¡Qué recorrido tan creativo! Vuestros proyectos muestran cómo la creatividad se puede convertir en experiencias tan vivas. Sin duda, proyectos como estos motivan y transforman la manera en que quienes participan se involucran y aprenden. ¿Habéis notado un cambio en la actitud o participación de los alumnos desde que usáis Genially para gamificar?
The change in student engagement has been incredible. At first, they were a little unsure because the format was so different, but once they started exploring, they were hooked. You could see the excitement and collaboration take off. They became so immersed in the story-driven challenge that I think they forgot they were learning. That's the power of Genially. It makes mastery feel like discovery.
I have noticed a change in attitude and performance with my students with using Genially. Like I said before, with geography, they really struggled and almost missed every question until I started using Genially. And also then when I became into my current role, teaching other teachers how to use it. So I've been able to go in and kind of observe it when I came to Genialize a lesson. And what I've noticed especially from the last time where I went and helped a teacher with this, is that the students simply are more engaged. They don't want to sit there and watch you lecture with a PowerPoint for like 30 minutes. They will tune you out. But if you give them interactive content like Genially, where they're not just watching and listening, but maybe they can click, maybe they can get some type of animation reaction that keeps them engaged. Even if they're kind of giggling and being like, this is goofy, they're engaged. I've also learned that it really is helping the students master the content. So like I was saying earlier, I went to a teacher's room who was really wanted help because their students were really struggling with some areas relating to the colonies. So I was able to help kind of genialize the lesson, similar to some of those things I just showed earlier with the map and the graphs and some more interactive content. And I came and watched them, and I saw both how they acted before Genially as well as with Genially, that they definitely were more tuned in with Genially. They were checking things out, they were giggling at things, they were interested in completing stuff. With the maps, they were actually going along and doing it. And I went and looked at the scores as well. So it wasn't just higher engagement, but it did show that everyone increased, especially relating to geography. So I think the numbers really speak for themselves, that engagement plus higher learning is what they get with Genially. And that's my belief. I believe that interactive content, especially gamified, really, really reaches most kids. I also believe choice is imperative. Combine the two, and you really can see student achievement just soar, especially using Genially.
Students love interactive activities and games in the classroom, and they are okay about reading about topics and culture or even completing activities, but they end up getting bored. And the best way for me to keep them engaged and interested is every now and then presenting materials and having them interact and have them curious about topics. Also, we had a high school-wide escape room that was combined with a scavenger hunt. So some of the activities that were in the Genially were mixed in, and the results were from finding materials or answers or finding or going for some quests in the high school. in throughout all campus. So they were very, very engaged, and they built great rapport with teachers because every teacher was in a classroom and they were a team. I had some other teacher cover for my class when we did that, and it was a great experience for everybody. Everybody was very happy with it. Students that were very active were the ones running out of the classroom, and those students that prefer more of a one-on-one interactive or more individual um, exploration of materials, they would be happy to stay in the classroom and communicate with others a different way.
Also seitdem ich mit Geniali arbeite und auch mit Gamification, ich sehe schon, dass es einen besonderen Reiz hat, wenn diese interaktive Dynamik entsteht bei bestimmte Sachen. Ich mache immer so eine Mischung zwischen analog und interaktiv, und da haben meine Lerner und Lernerinnen auch sehr viel Spaß dran.
Assolutamente sì. L'interattività e la dimensione ludica, infatti, cambiano completamente la percezione dell'apprendimento, sia per gli studenti che per i docenti. Gli studenti con il Genially collaborano, discutono in inglese oppure imparano la didattica digitale integrata, fanno ipotesi e si immergono nel racconto come dei veri protagonisti del loro apprendimento. Anche i docenti con cui lavoro in formazione apprezzano e sperimentano l'efficacia della gamification, diventano più creativi, coinvolti e motivati a integrare strumenti digitali nelle loro lezioni, e sapete che non è sempre facile. Tutto questo genera motivazione autentica, curiosità e coinvolgimento emotivo sia negli studenti sia nei colleghi.
¡Wow! Es realmente inspirador lo que compartís. Nos sentimos orgullosos de que Genially pueda ayudar a que estas experiencias tengan un impacto tan positivo en quienes participan. Aunque cada creador tiene su propio estilo, también es fascinante ver cómo nuestro entorno, cultura y experiencias influyen en la manera en que damos vida a nuestras ideas. Vamos a descubrirlo. ¿Cómo influye vuestro país, cultura o vuestro entorno en la manera en que creáis y compartir vuestros proyectos?
I teach foreign language, and I am from Northeast Spain, Catalonia, and I find that my cultural background is quite different from my students. And a great way of learning for them is by reading, watching, but even more so to interact with materials. And when I teach online, they cannot interact with everything. So I had to get a little bit creative, and students are able now to build their own cultural item fully online as part of the class. And then if you're in the classroom, you can then extend what they've learned and read or answered questions about and interacted with content into a face-to-face and full hands-on experience once they already are familiar with a topic. Also now, with learning about folklore, myths, and legends about a culture is one of those topics that they are not talked about at the lower levels. So creating a escape room or a game about those topics, students are very enthusiastic about them. And of course, Halloween, this time of the year, is the perfect time. So I'm working on that at the moment.
Also wie beeinflusst mein Land oder die Kultur die Art und Weise, wie ich teile? Komplizierte Frage, aber darüber habe ich nie wirklich nachgedacht. Ich glaube, ich teile einfach gerne.
Lavorare in Italia, in particolare in Valle d'Aosta, mi ha insegnato a valorizzare la diversità linguistica e culturale. I miei progetti tendono sempre a intrecciare le radici locali con la dimensione internazionale, promuovendo un approccio aperto e multiculturale. Anche nei giochi linguistici sono pronta a portare gli studenti e i docenti a comunicare in linguaggi altri, che possono essere appunto la didattica digitale integrata o la lingua inglese, in modo autentico e situato dentro contesti ricchi di cultura e di significato.
Alors personnellement, je vis et travaille en France, à Paris plus précisément, où la formation professionnelle est très importante, très structurée et encadrée, mais la gamification peut être encore perçue dans le cadre de la formation professionnelle pour adultes. ça peut être encore perçu comme infantilisant. Moi, je défends une gamification qui sert vraiment l'apprentissage, qui sert le propos d'apprentissage, qui améliore la compréhension, facilite la mémorisation. Je m'inspire du design des sites web, des applications et des tendances EdTech pour créer des expériences qui résonnent avec les apprenants adultes et avec mes clients, bien évidemment. Donc, c'est challengeant, mais extrêmement stimulant.
Parece increíble que aunque estén repartidos por diferentes países y contextos, todos usen Genially para crear experiencias únicas y conectarnos globalmente. Queremos descubrir ahora cuáles son las herramientas de Genially que más disfrutáis usar y cómo potencian vuestra creatividad. ¿Cuál es vuestro recurso o función favorita de Genially y por qué?
My favorite feature is using Genially Live. So, like I was just showing, that we have some content, and then we have those interactive questions. Basically, I like to make everything interactive. What I like about Genially Live is it's kind of like Nearpod in the sense that kids have to log in, and then they can see the page on their screen, so they can follow along with you. You control the page, which I like because I don't want them going ahead, but also it keeps all the interactivity that I love. So they always have something they can be doing and watching. I'm controlling what page. And just like you saw from that previous part, I can add in all these questions to gauge whether the students are learning as we're going along. It's so much easier to check for understanding as you're going and find out whether they get it now and adjust on the spot, as opposed to waiting 2 weeks to see what the test results are. Because by then it's basically too late. But Genially Alive allows me to keep all those lovely interactive features for them that keep the engagement up, but also allow me to get a pulse on whether they're actually understanding the material or not.
Well, there's a few Genially features that I love. One of them, for example, is the ability to embed the whole creation into a learning management system. This is one of the perks. And yeah, as well as now the new interactive questions allow for endless possibilities for interactivity, and as well as adding invisible areas, the hide and reveal features in a escape room in an activity in which makes students interact with the content is priceless. So those are some of the favorite features, and now with the integration of AI, it's, yeah, like dream come true.
Meine Lieblingsfunktion jetzt bei Geniali ist zeigen. Also das heißt, wenn ich auf ein Objekt klicke und dann ein anderes auftaucht oder verschwindet, ich glaube, damit kann man auch viel machen.
Mi piace moltissimo avere la possibilità di creare interattività multilivello. Ciò mi consente di intrecciare testo, immagini, audio e video in modo fluido, costruendo un'esperienza personalizzata e sensoriale. E poi dai, usando i widgets, qua si vola ragazzi, troppo bello. Ogni click, infatti, può diventare una scelta, una scoperta o un momento di riflessione. È un modo per restituire agli studenti e anche ai docenti il piacere dell'esplorazione attiva.
Ce qui m'a bluffé dès le départ, c'est la facilité de prise en main, combinée à une richesse incroyable de fonctionnalités. On a tendance à penser que facile est incompatible avec puissant et avec plein de fonctionnalités hyper intéressantes. Et ce qui m'a frappé, c'est vraiment que dans Genially, c'est vraiment pas du tout le cas. Bien au contraire, il y a vraiment un alliage très puissant de facilité et beaucoup de fonctionnalités. Et d'ailleurs, depuis, l'outil ne cesse d'évoluer. Il y a toujours des nouvelles fonctionnalités, toujours plus puissantes, qui arrivent quasiment chaque année, chaque trimestre. Donc pour moi, quand j'ai découvert tout ça, que j'ai mis le pied dans Genially, ça a été un véritable coup de cœur immédiat. Avec Genially, je conçois des modules e-learning pour mes clients en agence. Ça peut être aussi des formations hybrides. J'utilise beaucoup les templates, notamment pour la phase de storyboarding, c'est-à-dire le moment où on va montrer visuellement au client à quoi pourrait ressembler son module e-learning. Évidemment, on change les templates et on adapte en fonction du souhait et du projet du client, mais le fait de lui montrer les templates, ça facilite énormément le travail de storyboarding et la validation. Mes fonctionnalités préférées, c'est difficile d'en choisir une. Je suis une grande fan des widgets dans Genially, notamment le widget avec les cartes et le contenu randomisé. Mais je tiens à mentionner une nouveauté que j'adore, c'est l'intégration native avec Canva. Le fait de pouvoir passer de Canva à Genially et inversement en quelques clics, ça a été game changer pour moi, parce que je le faisais déjà, mais le fait que les deux outils aient travaillé ensemble pour faciliter cette intégration, pépite.
¡Qué interesantes respuestas! ¡Qué alegría ver cómo Genially se adapta al estilo único de cada creador, ofreciendo tantos recursos para dar vida a sus ideas! Bien, creadores, vuestro papel en esta parada es muy importante y os toca inspirarnos. ¿Qué consejo o mensaje compartiríais con los demás creadores?
If I could share one message, it would be this: lean into curiosity and connection. Don't be afraid to experiment, to ask, what if? And to share your ideas openly. That's where innovation begins. The Genially community is full of people ready to inspire and support you. Every creation helps us all grow, so keep creating boldly and never underestimate the impact your work can have on someone else's learning journey.
So my advice for everyone is just to find something new to try. Like I said, I've been planning with Genially for a while since I was a teacher, but I always like to stick with what I definitely knew I wanted. But then with that one master's program with the puppy heist, I learned playing with something new, trying new stuff just for the sake of it really could open up new worlds. For instance, just trying new interactive features like the hide and reveal. I'm like, why would anyone need that? So I actually started playing with that when I was making that puppy heist game. And I saw, oh, it kind of looks like it's interactive. It kind of looks like it's animated and more gamified. So there was a lot more things that it then opened up and gave me new ideas. So my advice is just to explore and to try everything. Don't just get stuck in your comfortable bubble, because it's so easy to do. Look at all the features, try each one, and once you see how it works, you'll probably start thinking of how you can incorporate it into your next Genially creation.
And if I had to give one piece of advice or message to other creators in the community, I would say go for it. And if you use the AI component, you will not regret it. It's going to be lots of help, and you'll get a lot of support from not just the app and the site that keeps improving. It's like a non-stop growing. It's fantastic. So go for it.
Also, wenn ich einen Rat geben könnte, wäre es, ich weiß, dass es am Anfang vielleicht so ein bisschen überfordernd sein kann, aber ich empfehle erstmal so 3 bis 5 interaktive Optionen zu lernen und damit ganz viel ausprobieren. Danach können wir auch mehr und mehr so komplexere Interaktionen oder Escape Rooms oder Rätsel, aber so, dass man diese 3 oder 4 gut beherrscht und in verschiedenen Lernumgebungen einsetzt. Und dann können wir weiter lernen.
Un grande consiglio che sento di dare agli altri creatori della community è non perdere occasione di ragionare su come Genially possa davvero fornire, dare un valore aggiunto alla nostra didattica.
Alors si je devais partager un conseil, ce serait n'ayez pas peur d'expérimenter. Je sais que certains d'entre vous, parfois, vous vous sentez peut-être un peu enfermés dans les templates, mais pour rappel, les templates sont là pour vous aider. Mais c'est en vous les réappropriant que vous ferez vraiment la différence. Donc supprimez des éléments, ajoutez, testez et surtout laissez votre créativité s'exprimer dans un cadre professionnel ou dans un cadre qui correspond à votre cible. L'interactivité et la gamification ne sont pas seulement des gadgets, ce sont des leviers extrêmement puissants pour transformer l'apprentissage et donc transformer vos formations. C'est tout pour moi, c'était Jean de Meuges Learning, ambassadrice Genially, et ravie d'utiliser cet outil au service de mes clients, au service de la formation et au service du digital learning. À très bientôt pendant le Wonderfest.
Y así termina este fantástico viaje por el tren de aventuras. Ha sido un recorrido lleno de creatividad, historias inspiradoras y momentos únicos. Gracias a todos los embajadores y creadores y a cada uno de ustedes por acompañarnos en esta aventura. Nos vemos en otra ocasión del Wonderfest, donde nos esperan nuevas sorpresas y más creatividad.